December 30th, AEW World's End, the final pay-per-view event, wrestling pay-per-view event of the year. And the main event of that show in Nassau Coliseum, it's going to be for the Triple B. It's going to be for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF, defends his title against his current ally, his current tag team partner, the Samoan Submission Machine, Samoa Joe. And they're going to run it back from their match, from their world title match at Grand Slam a few months ago, where MJF retained his title and quote-unquote earned Samoa Joe's respect. Now, on that note, I know that next week on Dynamite or on the next AEW show, I'm not sure, both MJF and Samoa Joe will be in a tag team match for the Ring of Honor tag team titles that he still holds with his best friend, partner, Adam Cole, Bebe. But they will face off against the Devil's Masked Men. And this could play into what we get down to at World's End. Because if MJF ends up losing those tag titles, and Samoa Joe is the one pinned, there's going to be a lot more tension between them than there already is. Again, they're just allies. They're just tag team partners. They have this story going that Samoa Joe is watching MJF's back because he wants him to make it to World's End, to their world title pay-per-view match. But here's the thing about that world title pay-per-view match. The only way I see MJF losing that title, and the only way I see Samoa Joe becoming AEW World's Heavyweight Champion on December 30th, is if Samoa Joe, throughout this entire time, has been working behind the scenes, in cahoots, if you may, with the devil himself. If Samoa Joe is the devil himself, that might come into play. Again, this all comes to the fact that if AEW and Tony Khan has a real payoff, if they've actually thought this through, and it's not just something that, well, we start this story and then we'll figure it out as we go, and it depends on how the fans react online and the fans react at the arena, and then we decide who the devil actually is. But the only way, and this is no gripe against Samoa Joe, he's a legend of the business. There's no doubt what he's done in Ring of Honor, TNA Wrestling, WWE. The man deserves his flowers. The man deserves, at this point in his career, to be world champion once again. He hasn't been a world champion since November of 2008, which is quite a while for a man of the caliber of Samoa Joe. But I just don't see them sacrificing Maxwell Jacob Friedman's current run, his longest world title reign, just for a random Samoa Joe title reign. Unless, again, he's working with the Masked Men, with the devil himself. He might be the devil himself, even though, a lot of people are going to talk about the body figures don't match. But again, it all comes down to, did AEW have a long-term plan when they started executing this storyline? Another thing to consider. There's a bunch of rumors, there's a bunch of reports going around that MJF may have already re-signed with AEW. MJF has gone and quoted the fact that he hasn't done such thing. The bidding war of 2024 technically is still on. So, just based on MJF's statements in a wrestling interview a few days ago, I'm going to take his word for it. Again, I have no reason not to, but if you want to be a conspiracy theorist, if you want to give him the benefit of the doubt, I don't know. Maybe if MJF loses the world title on December 30th, maybe it's down to the fact that he hasn't re-signed with AEW, and he's still looking at offers from possibly WWE. That might come into play. I doubt it, but we'll just have to wait to see. That might be a factor. But in the grand scheme of things, if it were up to me, I would keep the title on MJF. I would have him retain against Samoa Joe at World's End, and then we have the big payoff, the big reveal. Who is the devil? We have to get to that. We have to get there a lot faster than we already are, because I can sense some of the fans are getting impatient about it. And again, hell, if it were up to me, I'd plant a little bit more seeds on who it might be. I'd plant a little bit more suspicion, more suspects. But your audience, unfortunately, isn't used to long-term storytelling. It isn't used to waiting for the payoffs, so we'll just have to wait and see. As far as the actual pay-per-view match itself goes, I predict MJF is going to retain his world title. No doubt about that. And there's very little chance Samoa Joe walks out world champion at World's End. But hey, that's me. That's what I think about that final pay-per-view of 2023. But then again, we have to lay it on you. Who do you think is walking out of World's End with the World's Heavyweight Championship? Is it MJF? Is it Samoa Joe? Do we get the reveal of who the devil is? Or is Samoa Joe working with the devil himself? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions in the comment section below. In the meantime, tune in later on tonight to Access TV for another episode of Impact Wrestling. I'm Alexis Carrillo. This has been Wrestling Talk, and I'll see you next time.